In terms of other Major League sports in North America, the NHL, or just hockey in general, inherently has less drama. And you really know that this is the case when major Canadian publications are covering what Austin Matthews ate for breakfast over actual storylines. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure many of you love this about hockey, as it's more about the game than the off-ice antics of a superstar. But it is very important to realize that drama sells. Whether you like it or not, when there is a major news story sprung from the NHL, all of a sudden there's millions of extra eyes on the league, which ultimately leads to the growth of the game we love. And even though major drama in the NHL is rare, when it does happen, it is usually very shocking. And it's so shocking that these incidents often lead to players being shipped off or even bought out before the storyline has fully subsided. In today's video, we're going to go over those players who got sent down, moved, or even bought out and shipped to Russia due to an absurd incident. So comment down below if your team has ever had a player with absurd attitude issues. I'd love to know. And before we start this video, I have a huge channel announcement and a giveaway for you guys. The RT channel has a new channel sponsorship, which is CardGen. You can probably see my ugly mug back there. But CardGen makes custom high quality hockey cards that come in an assortment of sizes. You can customize your stats, you can add your headshot, of course, like this. And this is kind of the player I used to think I kind of was, 88 overall centerman. I kind of went the more modest route. I'm sure many of you guys would probably make yourself 99 overall, which is fine, do it. But they are the perfect purchase for any hockey fan, as they can go in your man cave, in your office, wherever. And actually, as I record this video, we just hit 25,000 subscribers, which is just amazing. So I want to give one of these cards to you guys. So leave a like on this video and comment down below on my pinned comment what overall you'd make yourself, maybe include your stats. I'd actually love to know. So please go check out CardGen in the link down below and use code RTH. We will start with the Mike Hoffman saga. And this one was just absurd. Drafted in the 5th round in 2009, Mike Hoffman was an absolute steal, as he actually went undrafted entirely in 2008 and would fall all the way down to pick number 130 in 2009, even though he registered a very impressive 52 goals and 94 points. And Hoffman would have a longer journey to the NHL, as he spent over 5 years developing in the minors, which included a year where he was the captain of the Binghamton Senators, where he'd also put up an incredible 67 points in 51 games. And so clearly Hoffman was respected and demonstrated strong leadership abilities, because even though it was only the AHL, he was only 23, which was really rare. And finally, in 2014, Hoffman would make the Senators roster, and he was a stud, as he put up a very impressive 27 goals in his rookie season, and for the next 3 years, it was more of the same thing, as Mike Hoffman proved to be a very elite goal scorer and was a top scorer on the Senators roster for 4 straight seasons. So at this point, things were great. The Senators had just made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and for the first time in nearly a decade, they were getting the respect of a serious contender. But this is where things would go completely downhill. Shocking the entire hockey world, Mike Hoffman's then girlfriend Monica reportedly seriously harassed Erik Karlsson and his wife Melinda online, to the point where there's been court cases and lawsuit threats. Now, it is very important to keep in mind that we don't know the exact events that transpired, and there's been no closure on this case, but some of the reported comments were absolutely absurd. And because of this overblown drama and just turmoil, Mike Hoffman, who was one of the Senators' top scorers, would be shipped off to the San Jose Sharks for basically a bag of pucks, as they traded a 30-goal scorer for Mikhail Bodker, who'd only put up 4 points this season and leave to Europe, and Julius Bergman, who is a non-NHL player. And to add a huge pile of salt to the wounds, the San Jose Sharks only acquired Hoffman to flip him to Florida for late round draft picks on the same day. And just to show how drama scares the pants off every NHL team, Hoffman, who was a proven 30-goal scorer, had the market value of a 4th, 5th, and 2nd round draft pick because of the drama. Whereas if there wasn't drama, I can imagine Hoffman being worth at least a 1st and a high-end prospect. And the next year, Mike Hoffman would explode. He had clearly put the drama behind him, and he'd register a career-high 36 goals and 70 points. And 2 years later, we still don't know the whole story, but this one was insane. Next, we have Tyler Seguin. And Seguin was of course acquired in the very polarizing Kessel trade, that sent the number 2 pick that was basically guaranteed to be Seguin, and a 2011 first round pick that turned out to be Dougie Hamilton. And Seguin would receive the Boston treatment. Because even today, and especially back in 2010, Boston expected all of their players to play a strong, two-way, gritty game. And if you didn't fit the culture of the team, well, you probably wouldn't last long. And for Seguin, who was drafted as the offensive phenom, to many surprise, he would develop into that player, as he would seriously sacrifice his offense in his rookie season, as he was stuffed in the bottom 6 with no special teams, but he would learn the gritty side of the game as well as learn to play that defensive side. And when he finally got his chance, his offensive game would explode, as he went from 22 points in his rookie season to a very impressive 67. And would see the only Selke votes he's ever gotten in his entire career at the age of 20. And at this point, Tyler Seguin was developing a more defensive side of his game and was showing all indications of an offensive superstar. So what was the issue? Well, it was partying. And because he relied too much on his skill.
He has a lot of talent, we know that. He should be scoring, he should be scoring, he should be scoring.
He's not a physical player, he relies all on his skill. Relies all on his skill. Relies all on his skill. Relies all on his skill.
As there's been numerous rumors discussing Seguin's partying issues in Boston. And mentioned by the Boston Herald, the Bruins would have to send a quote-unquote guards to make sure Seguin wasn't leaving his hotel room at night to party. Because on July 4th, 2013, Tyler Seguin would be involved in a massive blockbuster deal, as him alongside of Rich Peverly and Ryan Button were shipped off to the Dallas Stars for Louis Eriksson, Joe Morrow, Riley Smith, and Matt Fraser. And from day one, this trade made absolutely no sense. Yes, Boston was receiving some good roster players, but they were shipping off a 21-year-old potential phenom on the cusp of developing into a superstar. For a return, that just wasn't enough, which really reinforces the idea that Seguin was being very difficult behind the scenes. And what makes it even worse is that Peter Chiarelli's management with the assets they got in return wasn't any better. And so after being traded to Dallas, Seguin would prove that he was that offensive superstar, as he has proven to be a point per game player in Dallas, and he was traded for Louis Eriksson. Next, with the monumental downfall of Brendan Leipzig. As this past year, we saw Brendan Leipzig single-handedly end his entire NHL career because of leaked Instagram messages. Drafted in the 3rd round in 2012, Leipzig was an undersized but highly skilled player, who had the toolset to be a legitimate top 6 player. And Leipzig would spend many years grinding and lighting up the AHL. He saw a short stint with the Maple Leafs. He got drafted in the expansion draft by Vegas, where he'd see a 45-game stint, and finally, he ended up in a bottom 6 role in Washington. And this is where Leipzig would be exiled from the NHL. Outraging the majority of the NHL fan base and many people outside the NHL, hundreds of horrible messages were leaked from his Instagram group chat. And no matter which side of the fence you sit on regarding privacy, horrendous things were said in this group chat, as he was making savage comments about players' wives, ex-teammates, and many comments just about women, and many more. And there are numerous threads on these messages, so if you are curious, go look them up. I can't show them because I'd probably get demonetized, but I am warning you, they are pretty disgusting. And as a result, the Washington Capitals would act fast and terminate his contract. And today, it is heavily rumored that he'll be heading to Russia, and it is just insane that his comments would literally lead to his entire NHL career going down the drain. And last but not least, we have PK Subban, who's perhaps the most controversial player in the entire NHL. Now personally, I do love PK, but that is besides the point. Drafted in the 2nd round in 2007, PK Subban was a massive steal. And PK Subban would have a long and illustrious career in Montreal. As he was a fan favorite, he won a Norris, and he had many great moments in a Canadiens uniform. But at the same time, during his tenure, Subban was heavily rumored to be disliked by many of his teammates. His on-ice play would say differently, but he had many selfish high-risk moments that resulted in games lost, on top of having internal issues. For example, he would go to party rather than attending team events, which was confirmed by his ex-teammates. And slowly, after years of these antics, well, it boiled over. Especially when the Habs started to lose more games, that in return would only emphasize Subban's behavior. And so finally, on June 26, 2016, at the same time as the Hall and Larson trade, Subban will be shipped off in a massive 1-for-1 blockbuster deal for Shea Weber. And Subban's trade had a lot to do with the Habs wanting a change of culture, especially because Subban had so many bad relationships, so something just needed to be changed. And so for Subban, who had just signed a monster $72 million contract a year prior, well, he'd be shipped off largely in part due to attitude issues. And a great example that was also mentioned on the Spit and Chicklets podcast, Subban would skip a mandatory team event in Florida to go party in Miami. And so even though Subban loved Montreal and the people of Subban, he would get shipped off due to attitude issues. Anyways guys, has your team ever had a player with attitude issues? Comment down below, I'd love to know the full story. And make sure to go check out Card's channel, link is down below, and use code RTH. And again guys, the RTH channel just hit 25,000 subscribers, which again is just insane. You know, your support has just been amazing. I talked about it a lot, but again, my whole goal for this entire year, a realistic goal I wanted to achieve, was 5,000. And we've already did that times 5, which is just insane. You know, I keep setting goals and somehow we just keep crushing it. And you know, the support is really life-changing. You guys are allowing me to, you know, have a more comfortable time in school. I'm currently in university. I have another full-time job, and all your support is making this whole process so much easier, working 2 full-time jobs, and I really appreciate it. But anyways guys, hope all you guys are doing well. See you guys later.